All right, hello everybody. So I was hoping to have a video out quicker, but my weekend got a little busier than I was expecting. But if you've been listening to the podcast and everything, you know that I was planning on starting with Reina, if for no other reason that I had this suspicion that they were going to make her super overpowered and all this other stuff. So the good news is that she does seem like she's good, but she does have some holes in her move list, so I want to go over some of those. But with the guides and stuff that are out there, I just more or less wanted to present you with the information that I have available or that I've found. The more proper guides that I've done in the past, like those 10-minute ones, those are probably like a month or two down the road because I want the game to breathe. I want people to test stuff. I want people to play in tournaments, and kind of see what kind of nasty tech people have come up with. So with this, I'll try my best to kind of structure it in a way that makes sense with what would a guide would be. But it might be a little more sporadic than you're used to. But I don't want this video to be like super duper long. So I'll try to give you the cliff notes rather than just going through each move one by one. So Reina is a Mishima fusion, so she's got a lot of Heihachi, which a lot of people were expecting. She's got some Kazuya, she's got some Kazumi, and then she even has some other stuff that feels more like it was maybe copy pasted from other characters. So the first thing that we're going to go with, just because it's go over, just because it's really simple and straightforward, are her punishers. So she has a pretty powerful punishing kit. So she has the standard 112, the Mishima 112 at 10 frames, which goes to her stance. So she doesn't get the knockdown or anything, but she gets immediate stance pressure. She has the 122 for damage. So again, this is a Mishima standard. At 12 frames, she has Heihachi's 1+2. So very good 12 frame mid splatter. Obviously gives you the knockdown as well. She also, though, has this is kind of standard for Mishimas. They do have a 2-2, but hers is a bit more stringy. So she has 2-2-1 for the Punisher, but as we'll talk about, she has like all these other strings and stuff that she can do with it. At 13 frames, she has Heihachi's Twin Pistons, so you can go to heat off of that. I guess we can talk a little bit more about this later too, but she also has the Misstep, the cheater input that Kazuya has, so she can do a true I didn't do it right there. It was pretty close, but not quite. But she does have a cheater 13 frame electric, so she can 13 frame electric punish stuff. At 14 frames, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but she has this 2 slide 1. I don't think long term it's going to be practical. It's probably more of a matchup specific thing. 15 frames, this has been all the talk. She has this more or less standard down forward 2. It does not launch crouchers. Negative 12 on block, so just kind of something to keep in mind. But maybe you struggle. Sorry, shift my chair here. Maybe you struggle to do the sidestep electric punish kind of stuff. Down forward 2 is a super easy version of that. Also, if maybe you're trying to punish something that recovers a bit lower, has kind of a lower recovery box. If it's crouching, it probably still isn't going to be launched by down forward 2, but maybe you can get those lower recovery characters or whatever. She also has a hop kick. It's not your standard set 15 frames, but she does have one. This is not a thing that Mishimas typically have. Jin has one, of course. Devil Jin does not. Kazumi had one, but she had like a kind of a crappier like knee version of it, so it had crap range. This thing does like to whiff. You'll notice like it's a really high hitbox, so it does tend to whiff against low profiles, but she has it. That's the point. Doesn't do quite as much damage, as a proper like electric punish or something like that, but at least you're still getting something. While standing, she has the axe kicks, very powerful, 25 damage at 11 frames is really good. She has a good 13. She doesn't get a launch like Kazuya, but she gets this, so 34 damage into heat because the wall standing one itself goes to her stance, and then there's enough advantage on hit that she gets that kick for free. So that's pretty good. And then at 15 frames, she does have a launcher. She has this kick, kind of a weird input, full crouch down forward 4, but maybe not as easy as like a Kazuya wall standing 1-2 or a Jin wall standing 2, but still very good. And then for whiffs, all of these will still apply. The Heihachi code of just doing twin pistons against everything can work. You can also do like the safer 1-1 with your jabs, and then if you notice that it hits, then you can confirm it. Otherwise, electric is the gold standard for whiff punishes. So you have that if you want to go real easy and cheap. You have your down forward 2 and your hop kick. Even for long range, and we'll kind of come back to these, but she has this really long roll. She also has forward 2, which is a main pressure tool, again, that we'll talk about. But she has a lot of tools for punishing, is the point. Okay, next option, I do want to go over some defensive stuff because, we're kind of talking punishers and defense. So she has this little misstep thing. That is a punch parry. A lot of people have noted, well, first of all, it's kind of a hard parry to use. Like the window where it will actually parry a punch, pretty small, but it's there. And a lot of people have noted that in the Tekken 8 system, parries and reversals are susceptible to grabs. If you grab somebody during those parry windows or whatever, you cannot break the grab. So during this little walk, she cannot break the grab. So just something to note. But I guess for anyone looking to play her, you can make a note that when you're doing your crouch dash stuff, she doesn't do it. So, and unless you're approaching people with it, like that's how you're going to play her, I don't think it's going to be too impactful, because if you're dashing at somebody, you're dashing. You shouldn't be doing that misstep. Anyway, she has these sidewalk things, which are both, not only just evasive because of the movement, but at least the up one and the down one, they are also punch parries at first, on startup. She has kind of a more, I guess you could call it traditional reversal. So, you have that. During heat, so this is her stance, the startup of her stance, her Wrath stance. When she's in heat, this becomes a high mid reversal, so something else. I believe that those are the only reversals. But power crushes, so back 1+2. It's okay. -13, not a ton of reward unless you're at the wall, in which case it'll splat. Her stance crushes, probably going to give you a little bit more reward. But sort of the same deal. They're very punishable, and they just really give you knockdown, so you're not getting a ton there. So they're mostly just for like if you absolutely need a panic tool and you have nothing else. That's what she has. Other evasive stuff, 1+4. There are no moves out of this, but she can transition to crouch dash. Gets very, very low though. So if you want that, she has a back flip and a front flip. And then of course we went over those sideward stuff. So those are all kind of the quick summary of all her evasive stuff. Now the neutral tools. So we're going to do neutral tools first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about stances. So her lows are a little bit on the weaker side when it comes to the neutral stuff. So she has down back 2, hits very hard and has really good range, but -3 on hit, also pretty risky on block. So you're probably going to get launched by a lot of characters for that. She has what is very similar to Fang's low punch or low kick punch combo. The kick is, kind of whatever. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, doesn't really track very well. Also on hit, -2 isn't the worst thing in the world, but, you're not going to pressure people with that. You're mostly using that second hit for cover. But if you nab the counter hit, does a nice chunk of damage, and you get the knockdown, or if you're at the wall, you'll get the splat. And then, of course, you have your toe kick. Probably the best in terms of the neutral lows, sidestep 4, nice chunk of damage, 0 on hit, on counter hit gives you the toe stun. So pretty decent, but the stance lows are where you're probably going to be doing most of your work, and we'll come back to that later. Other stuff, you can play her very simple. Like she has a lot of these standard Mishima single hit tools that you can use. So forward 4, it looks a little different, but it's kind of the standard Mishima pressure axe kick, if you will. on if it hits crouch, just like Heihachi, you'll get your twin, or Kazumi, you'll get your twin pistons. Down forward 1, of course, we talked about. Down forward 1 is really important. She has some string stuff, which we'll talk about in a second with it. But down forward 1, just as a poke, she has that Heihachi range, so you're going to lean on this a lot. It's probably her most important tool. Down 2, very similar to forward 4, in that it forces crouch, 0 on block. You get a little bit of advantage on hit, and then on counter hit, you get that slam. The biggest issue is that actually, I'm surprised that hit, is just range. Doesn't have the greatest range, so you'll probably opt for forward 4 instead, but you still have that. She has the Mishima split kicks. Again, another move that forces crouch, which I keep bringing up because it's kind of a more advanced topic, but when you force your opponent into a crouch, they have a more limited move set, which can help you game plan and do setups and stuff, so it's an important thing to make note of. Hers doesn't launch. She does not get a launcher. She instead goes into heat. If she's in heat, she can turn it into a launcher by doing the dash, but you can't confirm that. You have to commit to it. So just something to keep in mind. Back 4, pretty rangy, safe counter hit launcher. It's also, I'm noting it because her crush attacks are really important for her. I think you really have to be aware of what moves she has that will crouch or jump stuff, and this is a crouching move, so good for setups and stuff like that. But it's safe. It's just a high. What else do we have here? We have 442. This is a really important approach tool. Probably one of the things that you'll use the most, because on approach, at least. So in terms of pressure, you have running 3, which is kind of your standard running 3 pressure tool, and then you have running 4, but that's a high. It's okay. You can go to stance to give it even more advantage, and it is a homing tool, but it's just a high. So if they're ducking, they can kind of punish you pretty hard on that. And the running 3 is really good too, because you get a free electric wind kick, hook kick, or whatever, god kick, whatever you want to call it, afterwards. So it's okay. But 442, super fast, and it goes to stance. If it hits, you can confirm this kick. So that is a natural combo if it connects. But even on block, +2. So for stance pressure. So really, really important move, probably right next to down forward 1, as a tool that you really need to look out for. Before we get into the string stuff, I guess, other really important stuff, her tracking is really, really weak outside of homing tools. You can step pretty much her entire move list to her right. So you would be stepping left. So if you're playing Reina, you really have to be mindful to do your homing attacks. Back 2 is probably the one that's going to be most used because it's very similar to Kazumi's. Quick, rangy, safe mid. Nothing special on counter hit, so you're not getting a ton of reward. Just stops people from stepping. You do, if you want to go for bigger stuff, her standing 3 is a homing tool. She has 2 natural combos from it. And if the 3 hits counter hit, that goes into a juggle, so it is a counter hit juggle. I guess it's fast-ish for a homing tool, but not super fast. So in terms of that counter hit, you're probably not going to get that a ton. The weakest part is really that's a high. You'd really love for that to be mid, but it's not. This is safe. The 3-2 is safe, but the 3-4 is not. However, it's there for people trying to duck, and if they duck and then try to immediately punish you or something like that, that second kick is a counter hit. So we already talked about running 3, so something to keep in mind, even from the neutral, and we'll talk about this more when we get to Sen, but this is really quick. The Sen 3, it is a high, but it is homing, and actually on block, it's +1. So it's almost similar to Fakumram's. You just have to do it out of stance, right? So, it's not a launch or anything, but still a pressure tracking tool that's fairly quick for coming out of stance. Just kind of something to keep in mind. And then her other tracking moves are out of stances, so we'll get to that when we talk to her. But back two is probably going to be your crutch here, unless you you get a really good feel for that standing 3. I should also mention, I think this is a sleeper move that that people really need to keep an eye on before neutral 3. So this is out of her missed step that she's doing this. Safe, really good range, decent damage, and it's a counter hit launch. And that counter hit launch is does a lot of damage for the full juggle, but it's also hits, like it does a good amount of damage, but it's very quick too. For 16 frames for that much damage, I think people are sleeping on this move a little bit, maybe because for Mishima players they tend to do the crouch dash approach, and you can't do that out of crouch dash, so you kind of got to do your basic back dash, forward dash kind of thing. But this is a sleeper move. I don't see people talking about this a lot, and this is a really good move. So we'll just kind of see how it is. Now, for the more stringy stuff, her strings are important. She doesn't have as many of them as people seem to be making out, but aside from more gimmicky stuff, which just means that you need to go to practice mode and take a look at them. But her jab strings, she has the standard Mishima 1-1, so this is -1 on hit, and then you can confirm the third hit if you see it connect. So kind of, again, standard for Mishimas. She does have a 1-2 combo, so that last hit is safe, but it's high. However, if that knee connects, it does not need to be counter hit. That knee will guarantee the third hit, and that splats. So very good string. It's only -10, so not the worst thing in the world. And if people are paying attention to that last hit, they're probably trying to duck that. So most of the time, I anticipate you'll just be able to get away with that. We talked about the 2-2 string. We can come back to that. Now, the 2-2, I should mention, you have a lot of time to confirm that third hit. So if you're just out here spamming 2-2 and you notice that that first hit connects, you can kind of finish it almost like a 1-1-1 or 1-1-2. Not quite as much time, but it's pretty lenient. But she has a 2-2-2, so this is safe. You'll notice that move looks very reminiscent of Heihachi. Safe on block, they can jab interrupt that. If the 2-2 hits, they can't, but you can interrupt that with jabs. However, if that hits, again, even on normal hit, well, even the third hit. So even if that second hit connects. Oh, no, it didn't. Why did she do that? That was weird. Why was that 3-hit combo? I don't know why that transferred to 3-hit combo. Maybe the wall or something. But the third hit in particular, if that hits, you get the follow-up. And there's 2 follow-ups. You can just mash 2. See, they did it again. Why did it do that? Huh. That's interesting. I'm going to have to test that. I don't know why that, at weird times, that second hit is linking. But anyway, if you hit the third for sure, you get that final hit for free, and then you just have to pick which ender that you want. But 2-2-2 is safe, so if you just want to poke with that, it does an okay amount of damage. If I can get it. Man, see, it did it again. That's weird. Funny. We're learning stuff on the fly. Anyway, the 2-2 string is strong. I think that it's a pretty good string. Down forward 4-2. This I think is most notable because it's her only, I'm pretty sure it's her only safe mid-mid. So just like a really good mid-mid check. You have the option to finish the string. So if they're not respecting it afterwards, that's that back 4 kick that weakness. So it's safe. It is a high, but it will counter hit launch. So if they're hitting buttons after, otherwise you can go to her Wrath stance. -6 on block, not good at all. So they can stop everything that you're trying to do after that with pretty much just a jab. So that's not really great, but if they don't know what's going on with Reina, you have that option. But just I think it's really good as just a safe mid chunky natural combo string. Back 1-1, same kind of deal. It's a high mid instead, but safe. Even more damage, like almost 30 damage, which is kind of wild. But you have string options on that, and with this back 1-1-3, if you go into Sen, that's safe. not only is that safe, but if they try to do stuff, you have options for crushing and stuff like that. So this is a really important string. The biggest downside is that back one is kind of slow. 18 frames is not great. Not the greatest speed on that. But still, really important string, I think, just to keep the pressure up without putting yourself at too much risk. Forward 2-3, again, reminiscent of Heihachi. Heihachi's was way better because not only was it faster, and well, not faster, but not only was his safer, but the second hit of his would counter hit launch. So she doesn't get that, but again, she can go to stance stuff. It's safe, so like you can't really pressure. Like -2 doesn't give you a whole lot of options after that. Like even like the power crush, they can kind of shut everything down with a jab. But if it hits, you know, obviously you get a lot more advantage. But just keeping up that string pressure is the point. But you can just not do anything. You don't have to go to stance or anything. Forward 2 can go into the sidewalk, and the reason that I bring that up is because this sidewalk or in this backward walk thing has one move out of it. It does have this kick. It's safe, so it's a safe crushing mid kick that is a heat engager, as you just saw. But off of something like forward 2, if you do it, not only does it kind of look like a string, right? It doesn't look like I'm doing any walk. That beats highs and jabs. So if someone's trying to jab you after this first hit, you know that's going to be free. You'll get right under it. So that's really important. I think in terms of strings, that's probably the end of the list of the stuff that you can spam even if the person knows Reina. But she does have a lot of gimmicky stuff. So like she has this breakdance thing. She has this jumping one that is safe, but you know that jumping stuff is always going to be risky. Doesn't really give you a whole lot of reward even if you stop here, although it is safe. So she has some stuff like that, but I don't long term. I don't think it's anything you're going to be using a whole lot. So that's kind of where the neutral stuff stops. I anticipate that you're going to be doing a lot of Mishima stuff. So maybe crouch dash into while standing 4 for your mid check. Lots of down forward ones just because it's so good. Just like Heihachi's was. But you have a lot of, you know, the standard Mishima stuff, forward 4, forward 3. Like I said, this mid kick I think is super good. You're going to be doing lots of back 2s just to kind of keep people in check and stop them from moving. Now, in terms of your aggression and your offense, we can talk a little bit about stances. So the crouch dash stuff, kind of traditional Mishima, but with a couple of tweaks. So she has the electric, right? Very similar to Heihachi. I think has that same big Heihachi hitbox that he had. There's nothing new with that. It's got the standard Mishima frames and all that. So it's very good, obviously. But she has some other stuff as well. So her crouch dash 1, a little different from most Mishimas because she has 2 options from it. That high is safe. And if they try to duck it, she has a mid version that's -12. So this is like kind of viable, right? So if they're not trying to duck this, or if they're just, you know, focused on other things, then you can get them with that. Or if they start to duck, then you can start landing the mid version of it. Her hell sweep, you know, that's probably a highlight. Very similar to Kazuya's in that she has the punch ender as well as the low ender. Her punch ender is high instead of mid. So, you know, if she whiffs on that first one and they stay ducking, her punch, unlike Kazuya's, is not going to hit. The low, also no knockdown, right? It resets to neutral. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, but if you can get a knockdown, you normally want a knockdown. So that's a little bit of a nerf. The low does give you more frames, so you're right in their face and you have a +2. A little less damage on it though. I guess the good news here is that if you do catch that second one counter hit, sorry, did the wrong one. She does get an easy juggle from it. Oh my god. So very easy juggle, so you'll get a good amount of damage off of that. Probably the most notable thing with her hell sweep though is her range. that kick range is crazy. She has those long dancer's legs, so she easily has the best range probably ever for a hell sweep. And you should abuse that. Like, you can do it off of there's a lot of crouch dash transitions that she has because she has a cheater version. You can do the down forward 3, so instead of doing the forward neutral down forward, you can just do down 3 to go into her crouch dash, but you don't get electrics when you do that. So that's the downside. However, they have opted to allow you to do that. Whoops. Excuse me. Why is she doing the kick? Oh, it's just down forward. But she has a lot of transitions from other stances. I think she can do it from here. Yeah. So I guess you don't need the 3. I thought you had to hit the 3. Anyway, so just kind of a quick preview on that. The one thing, though, kind of really big differentiating feature of her crouch dash is that she has an electric wind god kick. I am really bad at doing the electric on this for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what the timing is. But the non-electric version is -13, whereas the electric version is safe. So really, really important. But I think this is kind of going to separate the really good Reina players from the bad Reina players in terms of like getting wins, tournament wins and stuff like that. Because she stays crouching the whole time. So it's a crouching... kind of a tech crushing option for highs, and it's a counter hit launcher. So she gets a juggle off of this if she, crushes you and counter hits you. But if you can do that electric version consistently, it's safe. You're not going to get punished for it. So that's a really, really important move. And really, really important to be able to do the electric version. Now that said, that's just kind of the basic crouch dash scheme of any Mishima. But the other stuff, she has 2 other, aside from this walking stuff, she has 2 other stances. Her forward 3, the spin, is her Sen, and then down 1+2 is her Wrath. So Wrath is probably just more about string pressure than just doing it out here, because there's no movement on it, right? And some of the moves have, I guess, okay range, but it's really for like after you have hit something, I guess, and she goes to it, or like this, right? This is probably a good example. Down forward, 4-2 into it. If they can't move, then you can kind of use it. The problem with it is that it doesn't really have much in terms of mix-ups. So like it has a low string, but it's not a natural combo. And that first hit doesn't do a whole lot of damage, and it's very punishable. So you're kind of just pressuring with this string right here, because that string, very, very, very good, very powerful. Or you can do that first hit into Sen, because if that hits... excuse me, sorry, I did the wrong move. This is another one of those situations where if that swipe hits, you get a free Sen 3, which is that kick. So Wrath is going to be very situational. So you don't have to, if you're playing against Reina, you probably don't have to be very scared of that. You can probably just maybe jab against it if you see it come out like after a string, because she's probably not going to be able to do much about that. So just kind of something to keep in mind. I'm not going to go too much into it because I just don't think like it's going to be super duper powerful. The Sen, on the other hand, this is where she's going to get a lot of work done. So we already talked about Sen 3. Safe, well, not just safe, but a +1 on block high move. That is also a heat engager, but it's also very, very fast. It's her fastest move from Sen. So it's going to be very important. But she also has this mid, just a little slower than Sen 3. This is Sen 2. Safe mid, chunky damage. So, I don't think it does anything special on counter hit. Yeah. But yeah, chunky damage on that. So if they just keep ducking, just keep mashing that out. The low is very good. 22 damage. That's the same amount of damage as down back 2. High crushes. That first hit is homing. So it's another homing attack, but with the high crush on top of it, but also +4. So you're at advantage after you hit this. So it's a very, very, very good low. Send 4, also a very good move because it's +4 on block. This is also another crush move, but in the opposite direction. So she's going airborne, right? And if it hits, you get the electric wind god kick. So a nice little chunk of damage after that. So very, very good tools. And she has a power crush combo. Now both of those hits, very punishable. So you have to be careful using that power crush, but it is there, you know, if you want it. Now, how do you use Sen? Kind of up to you. You can use it out here in the neutral, like it goes forward a lot, and you can kind of just throw out that kick if you want to. I really like certain transitions. So like I mentioned back 113. So if you do this, you can crush jabs with the low out of that, or you can try to power crush through it, whatever your flavor is. If they're, you know, if they're going to take the mix, then you can do, excuse me. You can do the kick, or if they're ducking, you know, you can do that mid punch. It looks scarier than it is, but down forward 1 can go into Sen. On block, you can jab her out of everything because it's -3. Back 113 going into Sen is 0, so she has a little bit more leeway. But down forward 1 into Sen, it's -3. So if they know that, you know, they can jab you out of everything. So you really have to check them with the twin pistons. But still a good option. I mean, it's really quick. So you can do that off of pretty much every other stance that you can think of. Like if you do the sidewalk, you can do forward 3 to go into Sen. So it's kind of just how you want to play her. Now, I'll stop here. We've kind of gone over all of the important bits for this character, I guess with the exception of heat, but her heat is actually not that complicated. You only get a couple of bonuses here with heat, so you don't need to do any special to get electrics. You can just do them. In fact, you can do the cheater down forward 3-1 and you'll get electrics. Same with the kick. Whoops, I got the electric wind god kick. You know, it's always going to come out. You don't have to do any special timing on it. So you get that bonus. The other thing is that some strings gain a safe third hit. So 3-4-4, that last hit is safe. And as you see, it does a chunk of damage. It doesn't do anything special on counter hit or anything like that. You don't get a launch, but it just makes certain strings a little bit safer. So like also I mentioned 3+4 earlier, that gets that third hit, so you can just spam this. Pretty good. And then I think I might have mentioned it earlier, but her Wrath, it starts to parry mids and highs. So it's not a terrible heat, set of heat moves, but there's just not a lot to it. You don't have to have any special timing on your electrics. You're just always going to get them, and then a couple of strings gain that third hit. Yeah, I think that's it. So how are you going to play her? So we'll kind of wrap this up because we've kind of hit the highlights of her. But I think her biggest advantage is that because she has those stances and she has a little bit, I guess, better string game than Mishimas tend to have. She has a lot of flexibility. Like I didn't go over it very much, but I think this roll is going to be pretty important. It high crushes. She has that punch out of it, but she has a low out of it. She has this little jump cancel thing that she can do. But she can get in really quickly on you because of that. But you don't have to, right? Like if you watch people playing Reina, like your higher level players, they're doing whoops, I totally messed that up. They're doing your standard Mishima stuff. So they're doing crouch dash or wave dashing to get in on people. But you can also, like I mentioned before, you can just play this simple backdash game and then do this mid kick and stuff like that. So she has a lot of flexibility in how you can play her. That said, crouch dash stuff is really going to be important. Electrics are really going to be important. Her down forward 1, super strong. So you're going to be doing lots of down forward 1. She has kind of the same issue as other Mishimas in the sense that there's no magic 4. She has a standard 4. It's okay. After that, you get the god kick. Whoops, stuck him to the So you do get a free hit after. Whoops. I don't know why that comes out. That's very weird. I mean, you guys saw the button press there. I get that a lot. I don't understand the God kick. I don't understand the execution of the God kick. It does not like me. But I see it. Like, you see the button and press. Like, why isn't it coming out? I don't understand. But yeah. So you get some bonus on that, but it's it's just not going to be like some Magic 4 equivalent, because what you'll have to do largely is kind of what other Mishimas have to do, is like your counter hit is going to be 1/1, right? That's going to be your big counter hit, and then if you see it hit, this is another send transition that we didn't talk about, but I mean, at plus 11 you can do whatever you want, and they can't really stop you. So I kind of like it. I think knockdown would of course be better, but you put them in a mix-up right away, right? And you don't have to either. You can just take the frames. If you hold back, she won't do the send spin. But anyway, no Magic 4 equivalent. You just kind of have to stick to your jab punishes. But that's kind of why this is important too, the 2/2 string, because if you catch that counter hit and you notice that, you have a lot of time to finish it. But she's not going to get a counter hit launch is the point. The lows, right? We've talked about the lows. That's going to be a problem for her, I think. Because she doesn't have a stature kick, so she doesn't have this neutral low that's going to give her a lot of advantage on hit. She has to rely on these scary stance lows. Excuse me. Send 3+4, I think, is probably going to be the biggest one of those to focus on. The crush moves, her crush moves are pretty risky. So we went over some of them, but like that doesn't have any moves out of it. You have to do a crouch dash transition. The roll forward, I like it, but it's slow, right? 32 frames, that is not fast. If you do stuff like this breakdance thing, that's super punishable. Both of those are punishable. So that's -15, and if you finish it, it's -14. So crush moves like that can be, this is why I said that the electric when God kick is going to be important, because it's a crush. It'll go under stuff. But the low crushes are the same kind of deal. The best you probably have is the hop kick. She has some other jumping stuff, but like none of this stuff is safe. Like -10 also doesn't really give you a whole lot of reward. I mean, 40 damage is okay, I guess, but not for how, I mean, that's a juggle ender. So the 3+4 too, like we mentioned that earlier, I guess you have a little bit of time to confirm it, but still 34 damage, not a whole lot to work with there. And then I mentioned before earlier that she's very, very linear. Her move list is very susceptible to step, especially to her right. So keep that in mind. But that said, I still think she's cool. I still think she's powerful. Like, this mid kick is really good. Having a Heihachi down forward 1 is really good. Having electrics is really good. This electric kick is awesome. That kick it's going to be so good. If she can get her stance game going, this stuff can be really, really scary. I think the problem is just like getting that stuff in there. Like, she plays against evasive characters, or characters that are good at like getting around this stuff, then I think she's probably going to have problems. But we'll see. My guess is that probably Jin and Devil Jin are probably going to be better than her. But I like her tools. I think she's a decent character. So we're going to stop there, because again, I didn't want this video to go on for too long, and it's already been 40 minutes, but that's kind of a quick rundown of the character. I will be putting a guide together at some point for her, of course. I just want to see what other people have put out, what other people can find, and we'll just kind of go from there. But expect more of these. I'm hoping to have more time this week to go over characters and find more and put information out there. So just stay tuned, everybody. And if you have questions, or if there are characters, Victor is probably going to be next, because Victor is everywhere, and he seems like he's a really strong character. So he's probably going to be the next person I go over. But again, expect these longer kind of unedited videos for the next few weeks at least. And then as information gets refined and we have a better understanding of how these characters are operating, then we can kind of go back down to 10-minute guides. But that said, as always, thanks for the patron or to the Patreon subscribers. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for all your support, and thanks everybody else, for watching, tuning in, doing the views, and being interested in Tekken. So we'll be pumping out videos, hopefully a lot. I do what I can. I'm not a streamer or anything, so I have to work full time and all that stuff. But if as much as I can, I will get the content out to you, and then eventually we'll get those more slick guide videos, more structured guide videos out. But I hope everyone's having fun with Tekken 8, and we'll try to get another video out here as soon as possible. So take care, everybody.